So, whenever I think about a game where I can really sink my teeth in, like my time and attention, there's just about a few games that I can reliably jump straight back into. Whether it be exploring the depths of a cave or maybe rebuilding my own life in some augmented world, it's always that kind of game you can go back to for a small amount of time, or maybe even a year. For me, it's never lasted that long, but I've had my phases of going back and playing them even though I inevitably fall off them again. Yet, I still always find myself coming back. Feelings itch at me, and as soon as there's any small hint or sign that reminds me of the adventure, the possibilities, the wonder, I'm drawn straight back into the beginning. But that really begs the question now, doesn't it? Why am I, and so many others, addicted to these kinds of games? The ones you can get lost in, get sunk into, but not have a real direction to follow in the first place. Why do we love sandbox games? I guess there's a few things to consider when we talk about sandbox games. First, let's go over what I think determines a sandbox game as a title. Just off the name, I guess sandbox kind of falls into this plain Jane space almost that isn't really much at a first glance, but it has the potential to be a huge sandcastle given your own effort and dedication. Obviously, they aren't actually games where you're playing in a glorified kiddie playground, even though there may be a game out there that's exactly what I just described. You can do practically whatever you want, like add some water and make a moat, build skyscrapers, or just make sand angels. Games that I'm familiar with are like Minecraft, Don't Starve, and maybe even The Sims. In each of these different scenarios, it's up to the player to decide what to build, what direction to go in, as there's not really a total goal in mind beside personal goals that each individual creates for themselves. But why is this so attractive to such a large number of players? The first thing we should consider is freedom. The freedom that sandbox games provide its players is completely unmatched. Want to be the monarch of a kingdom? Build one from the ground up and rule with an iron fist. Want to be the mayor of a town? I mean, go right ahead. Who's going to vote against you? Right out of the gate, you're thrown into a brand new world where your only limit is your imagination. It's that sense of autonomy that we can't replicate in real life, and sandbox games are truly a place where we can express these crazy ideas and actions to our heart's content. I'm pretty sure everyone's had that thought to make themselves, or their entire circle of friends and family, as characters in the Sims games. This is truly the pinnacle of freedom that sandbox games give us. In a sense, we want to be ourselves without being tied back. We want to live our perfect lives, marry our perfect person, live in our perfect house, have our dream job, or not work at all. But why do it in a game when we can just pick ourselves up and do it in the real world? Well, because reality isn't always your picturesque utopia. There's always going to be hurdles in the way that prevent us from living our dream lives. But in these types of games, we're the ones to dictate our actions, and to the fullest extent. And who wouldn't want that for themselves? In these games, you can quite literally be anyone. You but a crazed alchemist. You but evil. You but a baby. You but a different race. You but your hair is just a little bit longer and dyed a different color. The fact is, you have the freedom to be whatever. Apart from having the liberty to do and be whoever you want to be, sandbox games also give you an outlet to express those funky, wacky ideas that have been itching at the back of your brain with no way to get out. It's a form of expression that taps into our brains and racks our thoughts until we find something we could have never created otherwise. A few months back, my friends and I played Dungeons and Dragons for the first time, and we got really immersed into the world laid out in front of us. But we were really bummed that we couldn't see that world with our own eyes and only in our imagination. Yet, Minecraft gave us that space to really bring our thoughts to life, and we recreated scenes from our adventures, like a bandit attack leaving a small village in ashes, or a giant invasion wrecking the walls of a large city, Attack on Titan style. In the end, your creativity is the end-all be-all when it comes to these games, and even in a place made of nothing but blocks, those possibilities are endless. And sometimes it's not even being creative in regards to what you can output, but also just creating something with what's already given to you. It could be finding an amazing location to build your future city, or imagining a cave to be a den for thieves and making your thoughts and ideas come to life with the help of these structures that were already provided to you. Going back to that example of Dungeons & Dragons, we played on Minecraft Bedrock, which has the addition of the Minecraft Marketplace. There, we found clothing pieces to actually adapt our little block men into our actual characters from our D&D sessions, which just added this whole extra level of creativity into such an already evolving and creative world. Another factor that definitely plays into this love that we have for sandbox games is the direction. That's definitely one of the main factors that lead to this continuous excitement and enjoyment from so many. And at the same time, it's the reason why it's a turnoff for others. The lack of direction and focus on player agency. Let's be real. If you open your eyes in a new Minecraft world, you're left with no real instructions on what to do. When you're already acquainted with the game, this isn't really a problem. But for new players, this roadblock makes the game a little bit more challenging to get into. I know my first experience was really hopeful. I dug myself into the nearest hole like everybody else on my first night. I made a tiny little wooden house that was just a small box with holes punched through the sides as windows, and a flat roof. I played for about 3 hours exploring caves and whatnot with my stone tools until I eventually found diamonds. Well, I had absolutely no clue that iron was a resource in the game, and so I mined the diamonds and nothing dropped. It was very unfortunate for me, and I ended up dropping the game as a result. With such a simple concept, it's very difficult for players to stick with sandbox games. It's because there's no clear motive for the game, and it can be really frustrating for many players to find a purpose. Think about some of the games that have really great story campaigns, such as 2018's God of War or Borderlands 2, for example. Borderlands 2 does a great job of giving players a sense of urgency, motive, and direction, pinpointing exactly what the characters have to do to progress through their predefined story. Something Minecraft, Don't Starve, and The Sims simply don't do. In the Borderlands, it's finding the vault, and a secondary goal is also proposed in the form of revenge, as Jack tried to kill us in the opening sequence of the game. But on the other hand, we the players have to make the goals ourselves, and since you have to create your own motivation for playing these games, which, to a certain subset of players, can sometimes feel stale, it makes it hard to find the drive to continue your adventures. When it all boils down to it, there are so many reasons why people can spend hours or even days enveloped into the world of sandbox games, partially because it's your world that's being created. All of the ideas and effort that go into cultivating your unique ideas and experiences can definitely be an enticing entryway into these kinds of games. Despite the obvious lack of direction when it comes to these titles, once you get those creative juices flowing, there's no end to the joys that you can create. I think the Minecraft trailer sums these ideas up perfectly. Let's have a listen.
Protect yourself with the strongest armor that you can craft, and fight off the dangers of the night. No one can tell you what you can or cannot do, with no rules to follow. This adventure, it's up to you.
Without the added nostalgia factor playing into my motivation to keep on building, it's up to all of you to have your own adventure. So what do you guys think about sandbox games? Are there any fond memories you guys have? If you want to talk about it, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, think about pressing the like button or even consider subscribing. I'm dabbling into a bunch of new avenues that I'm interested in, so if you want to come along on that journey with me, then feel free. And thanks for watching.